In September 2007, a famous American adventurer and record-breaking pilot decided to fly into the Nevada Triangle, but the world couldn't believe it when he suddenly disappeared.
It's just something that's been passed around by pilots in this area for decades that, in the old days, planes would go missing. Nobody ever found the airplane.
They were talking about hundreds and hundreds of planes that had vanished into the Nevada Triangle, or the Devil's Triangle of Nevada. Initially, the TV cable networks were all saying there were hundreds of planes that had flown into Nevada and never were seen again, just vanished into thin air. And this turned into talk of the Nevada Triangle on CNN and the other TV networks. Bermuda Triangle located in the desert of Nevada where people just vanished.
Years later, they sent a drone over Nevada. Moments later, it captured something terrifying. This is the horrifying story of the Nevada Triangle and those who have disappeared within.
And then I pulled out a map of Nevada and California, almost fell out of my seat, because the largest cluster zone we've ever established is in that Nevada Triangle. There's no concrete one item that you can say this is causing that. And because of no tracks, no scent trail, no witnesses to these events, we've had people say, well, it's got to be UFOs, it's got to be reptilians, it's got to be Bigfoot, it's got to be this. In reality, I don't think you can say it's just one thing.
The map that I put together of 129 crashes are only crash sites where there is still debris on the ground. There's actually been more hundreds and hundreds of crash sites around the state.
Steve Fossett disappearance.
I have set a goal, which is at the very limit of this aircraft. If I've miscalculated to any extent, I will be unable to finish this flight.
In the early morning of September 3, 2007, Steve Fossett sat in the cockpit of his single-engine Belanca Super Decathlon at the Flying M Ranch airstrip in western Nevada. The sky was the kind of unblemished blue that beckons pilots. Fossett had gained fame as a seasoned adventurer whose life was defined by pushing boundaries, and he was excited for another day in the skies. It was meant to be another flight and another chance to explore. But what followed would forever become one of the most baffling disappearances in aviation history. Steve Fossett was no stranger to danger. The man had circled the globe alone in a balloon, bested countless records in fixed-wing aircraft, competed in dog sled races, and swum frigid channels. Yet he always managed to come out in one piece.
There's a large number of aviation records, but there are three what are called absolute world records. One of them is for distance, one of them is for duration, and one of them is for altitude. And I set two of them today.
That morning, he told a fellow pilot he was scouting locations for a future land speed record attempt and expected to be back in a few hours. With enough fuel for 4 or 5 hours of flight, the plane hummed confidently and lifted into Nevada's sky. But that was the last time he ever saw it.
There was no flight plan filed. The only information we had was that, he was basically taking off on a Sunday joyride and flying the 395 corridor.
Hours passed, and there were no radio calls, beacons, or cries for help. When Fossett's return never came, friends and family's apprehension grew into worry, then terror. It didn't take long for authorities to declare the famous aviator missing. They deployed helicopters, search planes, and ground crews to comb the harsh and sprawling terrain that makes up the infamous Nevada Triangle. This is a treacherous stretch of desert and mountains where strange vanishing acts have become almost legend.
This man can be found alive.
Any sighting or anything that appears to be accurate with the information known about the aircraft, we are following up as they come in.
Day after day, searchers scoured thousands of square miles. They found wreckage from other planes long forgotten in the wilderness and relics of past tragedies, but there was no sign of Fossett or his aircraft.
He had about 4 hours of fuel on board that aircraft, and it flies at about 120 miles an hour. So that means that in 4 hours he could cover 480 miles, called 500 miles, and then do pi r squared. It's 750,000 miles. So unless we have some very good clues as to what direction, what piece of that, there's no way that we can search 750,000 square miles.
Weeks became months, and despite the massive search effort, investigators were forced to suspend operations later than fall. In February 2008, a judge declared Fossett legally dead. For over a year, the desert held its secret. Then, on a crisp September morning in 2008, a hiker in the remote Sierra Nevada wilderness stumbled across something terrifying that changed everything the world knew about the Nevada Triangle. They found a weathered stack of identification cards bearing Fossett's names, scattered among $100 bills. Was this a message from fate, or merely remnants of an unfinished journey? Guided by the hiker's coordinates, another search was launched. Days later, crews found the wreckage of Fossett's Super Decathlon, hidden high among the peaks near Mammoth Lakes, miles from where he had taken off.
We're getting close now. You can see how hard it is to spot wreckage. You know, here we're only 20 yards away from the wreck, and we first spotted it just now.
Pieces of the plane's broken frame and engine lay embedded in rocky soil, preserved where snow and silence claimed the land. 2 small bones near the site were tested and confirmed to be Fossett's. His full body was never recovered, but DNA would tell the world the truth, which is that the adventurer had perished in the unforgiven wilderness of the Nevada Triangle. Lieutenant David Steeves survives the Nevada Triangle. In the spring morning of May 9, 1957, First Lieutenant David Arthur Steeves climbed into the cockpit of his sleek Lockheed T-33A jet trainer at Hamilton Air Force Base near San Francisco. At just 23 years old, Steeves was confident and capable. He was a skilled Air Force pilot on a routine flight that should have taken him southeast toward Craig Air Force Base in Alabama. But over the rugged spine of the Sierra Nevada mountains, something went horribly wrong, and what followed would become one of the most resounding survival stories of the Nevada Triangle. The last anyone officially saw of him, the jet vanished from radar somewhere over Kings Canyon National Park's unforgiving backcountry, a place more known for its remote peaks and deadly terrain than for mystery. For weeks, crews combed the woods and crags in a frantic search, but there were no crash sites, wreckage, or trace of the young pilot. After days of silence, the Air Force declared Steeves dead, even mailing a death certificate to his stunned mother. But Steeves wasn't dead. 54 days after his disappearance, weary hikers in the Sierra's desolate high country spotted a ragged figure limping toward them, his flight suit torn, and his face was hollowed by an ordeal that you won't believe. They had found David Steeves, and he was barely alive. His tale was staggering. Something had exploded in the cockpit shortly after takeoff, and in the chaos, he was forced to eject. When he hit the forested canyon floor near 12,000 feet, both of his ankles were badly sprained, and the pain was so intense that he could barely stand. Wrapped only in the flimsy fabric of his parachute to keep out the cold, he found himself alone in the snow-covered wilderness, with no food, shelter, or hope but his own resolve. So, for 15 days, he crawled and limped over more than 20 miles of jagged terrain, slipping on ice, sliding down scree slopes, and dragging his broken body through ravines that even seasoned mountaineers called impassable. His hands bled, and his strength drained. He went 2 weeks without food, but he didn't give up. At the edge of exhaustion, he stumbled upon an abandoned ranger's cabin tucked deep in the wilderness, with its shelves stocked with canned ham, beans, and even fishing gear. With the pistol he carried and a few fishing hooks, Steeves fished the icy streams and shot a deer at a salt lick. Slowly, he regained strength. After gaining some measure of strength, he set out again, only to nearly drown while crossing the swollen Kings River. But he didn't stop. Soon after, a pack train guide spotted him and led him by horseback back toward civilization. When Steeves finally walked out of the Sierra Nevada, he had shed nearly 40 pounds and looked like a ghost of the man who had flown into the mountains weeks earlier. At first, the world called him a hero, but with no wreckage ever found and tensions high in the Cold War era, some doubted his story. For years, Steeves himself searched for remnants of his jet in the treacherous Nevada Triangle. It wasn't until 1977, 2 decades later, that Boy Scouts on a hiking trip found the aircraft's canopy, bearing the serial number of his missing T-33. After the survival of David Steeves, the world realized that there was something strange happening in the Nevada Triangle, and he was only one of the few survivors. Many flew over the triangle, never to be seen again. Nevada Triangle and World War II era bomber crashes. The Nevada Triangle isn't a plot from a fantasy novel, but a real and haunting stretch of sky and wilderness that has claimed more aircraft than almost any other part of the United States. Defined roughly by the points of Las Vegas, Reno, and Fresno, this 25,000-square-mile region stretches across the Sierra Nevada mountains. It is a rugged, remote, and unforgiving triangle to many pilots and aviation historians. Over the past 6 decades, the Nevada Triangle has been linked to the disappearances or crashes of over 2,000 planes, far more than the famed Bermuda Triangle, and countless wrecks still lie hidden in its forests and high alpine lakes. Sierra Nevada is almost like nature's own obstacle course, with the peaks thrusting skyward, winds that roar down valleys with little warning, and weather that can turn from calm to violent in minutes. For pilots passing through that triangle, whether it's older warbirds or modern light aircraft, the Nevada Triangle remains lethal. Many have been lost in the Nevada Triangle since before the devastating story of Steve Fossett, and some of the worst disappearances came from the darkest days of World War II. In December 1943, a consolidated B-24 Liberator, a 4-engine heavy bomber that had served in multiple theaters of war, departed on a routine celestial navigation training flight over the Sierra. It vanished without a trace, leaving behind 6 crewmen and only questions. It wasn't until 1960 that searchers finally located the wreckage high on a ridge near Lake LeConte. Evidence suggested that the bomber had struck a mountain peak and slid into the alpine lake, hidden for years by snow and rock. That lake would later be renamed Hester Lake, in honor of one of the bomber's co-pilots, whose father had spent years searching the wilderness for his son. Another wartime tragedy occurred in February 1945, when a U.S. Marine Corps transport aircraft crashed during a winter storm near Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the contiguous United States. The wreck was only discovered 5 months after because of the deep snow and isolation, and the bodies of the 8 crewmen were eventually recovered, only when the weather finally relented. These cases were mirrored by more modern losses. Civilian and military pilots alike encountered trouble in the Triangle's unforgiving skies. Some, like the iconic Lieutenant David Steeves, would be found eventually, while others, like Steve Fossett, disappeared forever in the Nevada Triangle. As the Nevada Triangle continues to swallow more and more pilots, and this has led to many theories and controversies of what's really happening in there, and the region is suspiciously close to Area 51. Area 51 and UFOs.
Since the late 1940s, Americans have been fascinated by a mysterious region in Nevada known as Area 51.
What exactly goes on at Area 51?
The Area 51.
Area 51.
Area 51.
The Air Force has recently made public an archive of UFO reports and investigations.
Are there any alien remains in Area 51?
In the desert silence of the Nevada Triangle, from Las Vegas to Reno to Fresno, it's clear that something strange is happening in this region. The Triangle is notorious for the sheer number of aircraft disappearance and crash sites that have never been fully explained. And for decades, one question has shadowed every lost plane. What else could be out there? And who or what might be watching? Nearby this triangle is Area 51, the secretive military test site hidden deep within restricted airspace. This region has always been there, but it was only acknowledged in the recent years. This secret military site was used to make secret programs and spy planes. But there have been rumors, speculations, and exposed details which reveal that Area 51 might have UFOs, reverse-engineered alien crafts, alien beings, and silenced witnesses. For theorists, the coincidence of countless disappearances in the Triangle and the presence of Area 51 isn't a coincidence. Some of the missing flights didn't simply crash or succumb to treacherous winds, but instead, those planes might have actually encountered an unidentified aerial phenomena. These planes might keep crashing and even disappearing sometimes because of aircraft that's not from this world. There have been eyewitness testimonies that reveal strange lights skimming the sky near Groom Lake.
Reports that strange flying discs have been whizzing at 1,200 miles an hour over the western United States.
Others have seen objects hovering with impossible precision along the barren ridgelines, and of pilots who may have strayed close to what shouldn't be there. Area 51's cloak of secrecy only deepens the mystery. With the tightly guarded perimeter, restricted airspace, and decades of strange UFO activity, including statements about alien autopsies and mysterious propulsion systems, this remains one of the strangest places in Nevada. Perhaps some of those vanished aircraft encountered technologies being tested or studied beyond public knowledge. Could there be something in there that's pulling these aircraft into the Triangle, only to crash and never be seen again? Well, there's another theory which brings up the possibility that the region is related to secret military testing and government cover-ups. Secret military testing and government cover-ups. The Nevada Triangle is close to a landscape owned almost entirely by the U.S. government, where classified activity has been the norm for decades. It is here that many believe that the Nevada Triangle's reputation might be found in secret military testing and deliberate cover-ups. The real story begins in the Cold War. In the 1950s, the CIA selected the isolated Groom Lake area in southern Nevada as a flight testing ground for the development of the U-2 reconnaissance aircraft, codenamed Project Aquatone. Over the years, test programs for cutting-edge surveillance planes like the A-12 and stealth fighters such as the F-117 Nighthawk also took shape here, far from prying eyes and nestled within restricted airspace that pilots in the Triangle were forbidden to enter. This has led to rumors about government cover-ups of terrestrial projects that are so sensitive that sinking them into the public record might compromise national security. Many suggest that whenever unknown aircraft vanish into the Nevada Triangle, what appears to be a disappearance could actually be an encounter with classified operations, technologies being tested that civilian and even military pilots were never meant to see. Geography and mountain wave. Most aviation experts agree that the unusually high number of crashes and disappearances in the so-called Nevada Triangle isn't due to mystery or aliens, but to the region's geography and extreme atmospheric conditions. The Sierra Nevada mountains rise sharply from the desert floor, forcing fast-moving winds from the Pacific Ocean upward and over the peaks. When air hits a mountain range like the Sierra Nevadas, it doesn't just flow over smoothly. It sets up mountain waves, a type of atmospheric oscillation where air alternately rises and falls on the leeward side of the terrain. These oscillations can generate very strong vertical currents, severe turbulence, and downdrafts that can exceed thousands of feet per minute, making it incredibly difficult for aircraft, especially smaller ones, to maintain stable flight. Mountain waves occur when wind direction and speed meet certain conditions, usually strong winds blowing roughly perpendicular to a long mountain ridge, which is common over the Sierra Nevada. As a result, a plane flying through this area can suddenly encounter violent updrafts and downdrafts or dramatic shifts in airspeed, even in clear air without visible clouds. The downdrafts alone can push an aircraft toward the ground faster than its engines can climb, leading to loss of control or collision with terrain. The terrain itself compounds these dangers. The Sierra Nevada is remote, rugged, and covered with thick forests and deep canyons, making it easy for wreckage to be obscured from aerial view and extremely hard for search teams to access. Many early searches missed crash sites simply because of the complex topography and isolation of the region. Consequently, even when wreckage is eventually found, it may lie hidden for years, contributing to the perception of mystery. Do you think the disappearances in the Nevada Triangle are because of nature's arrangements? Or is it something creepier, like aliens and UFOs, or secret military testing? Is the government covering up something suspicious about the Nevada Triangle? The secrets have finally been revealed. They sent a drone over Nevada, and moments later, it captured something forever terrifying. Drone discovery over Nevada. A recent drone flight over a remote stretch of the Nevada River has captured a scene that experts are calling unbelievable. The drone revealed dozens of commercial and private airplanes scattered across the riverbed, many partially submerged, and others seemed to be intact. Some of these planes had been reduced to twisted wreckage, too. The drone, operated by a local aerial survey company, was initially sent to capture high-resolution images of the river's ecosystem. But what the footage revealed has stunned aviation enthusiasts and local authorities alike. At first, it seemed like it was only one plane, but as the drone moved high into the sky, it started to capture even more planes, and that was when the drone operators gasped. They suddenly saw an entire scene of planes underwater, many of which had crashed while they passed through the Nevada Triangle. It was like a ghost airport under the water. The discovery is raising questions about the region's mysterious reputation. For decades, the Nevada Triangle, an area bounded toughly by Las Vegas, Reno, and Fresno, has been infamous for the unexplained disappearance of planes. Hundreds of aircraft are believed to have gone missing in this area over the past 50 years, many without a trace. It seems like some of those aircraft drifted into the sea instead, and the pilots were lost forever. Aviation historians note that the combination of rugged terrain, unpredictable weather, and magnetic anomalies has long made flying over the Nevada Triangle risky. But the new drone footage suggests a far more tangible explanation, which is that the river may have been the final resting place for many of these lost aircraft. Some wreckage appears remarkably well preserved, leading experts to speculate about the role of the river's unique conditions in preserving these planes over decades. Now, the picture taken by the drone, which reveals many planes, is spreading online. Some experts are speculating that the picture is real, and that these are really planes which crashed in the Nevada Triangle. Others suspect that the photo might just be fake or made by AI. Although many planes have crashed in the triangle, they might not all be in water bundled together. What do you think is the truth in this matter, and what is false? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. So, thanks for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one.